Welcome to the Moments That Matter podcast. I am your host, Laura Escamilla.
And I am your co-host, Isaac Escamilla.
And welcome to season 3. We're excited to get started this fall, or going to be fall 2024. And for this first episode, we're going to have a chat and discussion about getting our students ready to go to college. And I was reading an article from Inside Higher Ed, and I came across an article that intrigued me discussing, are students college ready or are colleges student ready? And I really wanted to discuss this as our kids are going off to college, as parents are getting their kids off to college, and discussing this idea of college readiness. So colleges and universities will be welcoming the class of 2028 to the campus this fall. And this is another group of students who had high school experiences that were disrupted with COVID. And a lot of things have changed with the pandemic and the starting of remote learning being introduced into their lives. So over the past few years, apparently higher ed has noticed differences in how students today, these current students, learn compared to the peers from before this COVID kind of disrupted everything. So there's this discussion on if students are really college ready and what that entails. So I want to discuss that. And by definition, college readiness, I kind of always associated that with classes you need to go to college and preparing for the cost of college and all of those things. But this article introduced a different aspect, which is college readiness is really providing students with a set of skills and behaviors and knowledge to have before they get to their first year of college.
Organizing their life, so to speak.
Yeah, so to speak. So this transition from high school to college is a really big one. And in a lot of cases, students are moving away from home and starting this new chapter, both academically and personally. So I thought it was really important for not just parents to understand, to help their students through this process and guide them to be college ready as they start the semester.
Great.
So some of the essential soft skills of college readiness are time management, critical thinking, communication, networking, goal setting, collaboration, and problem solving. And I thought it was great because in past episodes, we've talked about all this stuff, the importance of students networking and communicating with professors and that kind of thing. So I think for the start of the semester, this was really great. And the reality is today that the signs show that students really aren't college ready. And historically, compared to past students, they have lower ACT scores. They don't have the study skills. Their class attendance is lower and participation is lower, and meeting deadlines consistently is not there. And I think it really has a lot to do with just the online learning component that they had to get introduced to.
Maybe a little bit is that it was asynchronous. So there was deadlines, but you got to do a lot of it on your own time.
Yeah, and I think there was a lot of teachers taking it easy a little bit because everybody was struggling with COVID and being lenient with deadlines and things of that nature.
So I saw a little bit of that.
Now we're out of that. I think every school, every organizations trying to get rid of this COVID mentality that we had and go back to normal, if you will.
We don't want to talk about it. We don't even want to talk about
yeah.
it. It never happened.
So we need to get these kids back to before what they should be doing. And I think it's really interesting how schools really feel like you should know how to study already. You should know how to do this already. And I don't really know what brings that mentality about from all colleges. Is it just because kids passed their classes and now they're ready? They should know how to study. They should know how to do everything because of what? Because they got A's in high school. College is a whole other set of skills and experience from high school.
I understand. That's not really apples to apples.
Right. So colleges really have the mindset of you should already know this. Like right. You got here, you should already know how to do all this.
Keep doing more of the same.
And so what I wanted to do is talk about practical tips for students as they start the school year. And the first big thing, and I don't want to make an assumption that parents know or kids going into school know, because I know teachers in high school try to do this too, is really provide a course syllabus. And I wanted to touch on the importance of this syllabus. And for one, the syllabus has all the important information for higher education classes, for college courses.
Definitely.
Professors use this as the rule book for the class. So I wanted to make sure, I didn't want to assume that our listeners know what a course syllabus is. So I wanted to touch on that and just talking about the syllabus as far as it outlines expectations, policies, the curriculum for the class, the required materials, the resources available for the class. It also includes the professor's office hours, their policies on missed classes and tardiness, policies on extra credit. This is, again, it's the guide for the class. So want to make sure that students understand as they're starting first day of class, that's usually what happens. They get a
That's
syllabus.
yeah, that's gold. Those office hours and the way they track attendance.
And kind of want to share how Lucas went through that this year. He was taking a class, he was showing up, he was getting good grades, and then halfway through the semester, he gets notification that he has too many absences and now his grade is going to drop from an A to a B. And he was upset. He
I
was
was
like,
upset. We were all
we're all
upset.
upset, thinking like, how did he miss all these classes? Why is he not going to class? And he never noticed on the syllabus that the professor's policy is if you're late to class, even by 1 minute, 3 tardies equals 1 absence. So he was late a lot. It was an 8 a.m. class and he was there 8:05.
Avoid the 8 a.m.
Yeah.
classes, guys. I'm
Or-
kidding.
or
Do what's
get
best
there,
for you.
yeah.
Do what's best for you.
But he was getting there like 8:05 and didn't think it was a big deal because he's going to class. But in reality, he was tardy, and every time he was late, every 3 times he was late, it was an absence. So they accumulated by the time he got mid-semester. So it brought his grade down a whole letter grade.
Noticeably.
So these are things that are on the syllabus. And my first question to him is, didn't you read the syllabus? Is it not on the syllabus? And it was, he just didn't read it. So this is like a really important document to pay attention to. So that's one of the biggest things. The other big thing about going to college is to understand what services are available. July 2023 report from a Titan Partners organization found that 60% of students were unaware of the full scope of support services offered at their college or university. And higher ed professionals, including administrators and advisors and faculty members, were more likely to say that all these resources were available and students just didn't know. So there's a big gap between the knowledge of what's available by the school. And I think kids just don't pay attention until they need it.
Right.
Or
Someone
if
needs
they
to
need-
point them
Right.
towards some of those resources.
I really want to push on parents as they're leaving their kids at college to find out what resources the college has available to students to help figure out where these things are. Most students have a Center for Student Academic Success, something along those lines, and find out if they have in-person tutoring, online tutoring, departmental resources, depending on the courses, peer tutoring at Baylor. They call this SI, supplemental instruction. And really it's a type of tutoring where peer-to-peers, they organize them by class. Each class has an SI. And they do peer-to-peer studying and reviewing of things with the TA. A lot of universities may offer something similar.
Yeah.
There's also learning labs, again, because speaking of Baylor, because that's our experience, they have academic mentor where they teach you about time management and goal setting. They have academic coaches to prepare for tests and writing labs to help with papers. So these are all important resources, I think, as you're dropping your new student off. And even if they're already been in school, they may not be at the stage where they're needing these resources yet, but it's important that they know where they are. You can look them up online and go find the building as you're dropping them off. If they're local, just look up what resources are available by the school. Most of the time, these things are free. So I think that's a really important thing.
So even if you're a really good student, some of these resources could make you a great student,
Mhm.
and you can just take yourself to the next level. Additionally, I think there was a distinction between private universities and public universities in the way they handle the cost structure for some
Mhm.
of these things. I have heard from friends of ours that what Skylar was able to do with her supplemental instruction, it was already built into the cost of
Mhm.
tuition.
Mhm.
But at some of the state schools, it is not. There, it is a small fee, but there would be something that they would have to pay for. It depends. Your
Yeah,
mileage
just
might vary. Yeah.
and that information should be readily available on the website.
Yes, indeed.
And just learning about things. And just for myself personally, I went to the residency for my doctorate program. And as I was there, I learned that you could use your tutoring hours for the tutor to read through your paper and make sure that it's in proper format. And that was an aha moment to me. I had no idea. I always associated tutoring with just that, like helping you through something. But you could send your paper and use those tutoring hours that are free resources for them to just check something you already did. and make sure that everything's in order. Things like that are
I
really
like that.
helpful.
A different set of eyes on
Yeah,
it.
super helpful that I didn't know what's available to me as a student, even at that, at a doctorate level. I didn't even think about that. But I'm definitely going to use it the next semester going in. Talked about before professor office hours and making use of those hours. And don't assume your child knows to do this. Have a discussion about how important this is. A lot of students don't really know what those office hours are supposed to be for or how to engage with a professor. And really, the important thing is just go by and introduce yourself. And if you have an exam, I've advised the kids about this. If you have an exam and you messed up, if you didn't get the best grade, go talk to them about what you did wrong and try to find the right answers. And really, the important thing is that I preach all the time to the kids is if your professor sees that you care, they will care.
If you're making an effort,
If you're making it, makes a big difference. So it can be just as simple as this. My name is Laura, and I want to introduce myself. I'm looking forward to the semester. I wanted to see if I need help with anything. Could I talk to you, or do you have any suggestions on where to go and what to do? And just have an open dialogue because they're just human beings. I think that's really important. So I wanted to go through just some tips on how to be an organized student as students are going into this. Also, once we get through the syllabus, we have the syllabus, we have figured everything out on the resources available and when assignments are due and everything. So the very first tip is to take that syllabus, go get yourself an agenda or calendar as soon as you get it, and go class by class, color code if you need to, know all of the assignment due dates, know all of the exams, all of the big papers, important dates, put it all in a calendar. And if necessary, write down your class dates for every day if you need to remind yourself to go to class and what time that is.
That's a great start.
Yeah, but the biggest thing is to take that syllabus and make the exam days, the large assignments, and do a schedule for yourself working backwards when you should read things. The philosophy with our kids has always been to look at what you're going to cover in class. Usually it says on this day we're covering chapter 4. So before you get to class, read chapter 4 so that when you get to class, you already know what's in the book and you can pay attention to the lecture.
Right.
You're not trying to follow along and you're not lost.
You're not playing catch
that is
in real time.
The number one study habit that has been instilled in our kids, not just by us, but by the school. That was like a first thing they told us. And professors, I'm sure, tell them that read before you come to class.
Show up with some knowledge.
Yeah. And
have questions ready.
Right. So when the professor's asking questions during class, they already have information. They've already read through it. They've already figured things out. So make notes of when you need to do that. If class is Tuesday, make note for Monday that you need to read that. And write all that in your planner and in your calendar. The second tip is to create a personalized study schedule. Really determining, are you a morning person? Are you an evening person? It doesn't work for everybody to study at the same time. Not everybody functions the same way.
I'm a midday person.
Yeah. When are you the most, aware? I think for me, after 10 a.m., I'm good. Like I can have a 10 to 4 schedule in my mind.
No, 10 to 7. This is the best version of me, 10 to 7.
Yeah. So everybody has that, right? That version of them. So figure out your study schedule based on that and schedule everything. We joke about our daughter that Skylar schedules when she's going to play video games.
Gaming
and
time is important to schedule.
But she does it because she needs to keep a schedule to run efficiently and to feel sane, really.
Right.
So schedule when you're going to eat, when you're going to work out, if that's important to you.
Right.
And with that, stress management, right? Time to unwind. Okay, I'm going to end. I'm not going to study past this time and I'm going to do this. And treat it like a job. We've always told the kids like all day, and just like work, you leave at 5 or whatever time that is, you have your scheduled time of when you work, go to class, study, and then you have your, so work out, run, play video games, whatever that is, but schedule your downtime too.
Definitely.
And just keep it in your agenda and your calendar.
Yeah. So going back to the calendar really quickly, I don't know if I should mention this, but I'm a very big technology person. That's my job. It's been my livelihood for a very long time. And not only because I work for technology department, but I enjoy it very much. It's part of who I am. So I use my Apple Watch. I use my iPhone. I use all my laptops, my Mac, my Windows PCs and desktops to keep my life organized. So I know when to be at places, and I know when to pay bills,
Yep.
and I know when to do all the things because I have an alert that pops up and reminds me to take care of certain things. I am surprised that neither one of our children really rely on technology that heavily in that way, that they prefer to write things down. I do have a whiteboard in my
Yeah.
office that I use every day,
And
but writing things down helps
I
for
do
them.
both in my world. I have a calendar for my meetings and where I need to be, but my agenda is for the things I need to do. Does that make sense?
Maybe you and I should talk.
Yeah. So all my tasks that I need to do are written down because I need to see that they're marked off and done. And my calendars for my meetings, and like I need to be at this place at
Your
this time.
physical
My physical
presence.
presence is my calendar, but my mind is on my agenda.
Mm,
I just
wow.
surprised myself. Write
Yeah.
that down. So you skipped ahead to my list on utilizing technology wisely,
Mhm.
which is calendars and reminders. Use a recorder on your phone for lectures if it's allowed to keep everything, if you miss something, in order. So I know there are some policies on that, but depending on the school, you might be able to record the lecture
Definitely.
that you can go back to. So use technology wisely.
There are also some great AI transcribing tools that you can use when you record lectures, and that'll give you the greatest hits and then maybe summarize some things for you. Again, I wouldn't promote any specific application, but if
Right. But
you look around, there's a
there's
ton out
stuff
there that do
available.
that.
Yeah. And let me skip back to my list before I get off too far and define and prioritize what your goals are for the semester and where you need to be and what you need to be doing. And make sure you focus on high priority assignments and break them up. For example, if they have a big paper due, that's the final, is a huge paper. Don't wait until the last few weeks. Break it up. Like this first, I'm going to write an outline this first month, and then I'm going to do this the second month, and then I'm going to do break it up so that at the end of the semester, it's not bogging you down.
Set smaller goals,
Right.
as
Small
they add up
goals
to the large.
and prioritize the way that works in your mind. What classes come first, what is more important to focus on. There are things that you have to put a little more effort into. And that's a really big part of learning going to college. Which
Yes.
classes you really have to prioritize.
And I've had classes in college that were very much that way, where we only had maybe 2 assignments
Mhm.
the whole semester, and because they were all comprehensive and they all built upon one thing. And if I don't focus on them or lose track and I feel like, yeah, I can do this later,
Yeah.
I would fail.
Yes. Okay. We don't need to get into
No,
the
but I
fact-
didn't,
Yes.
because
but
I did what I was
plan
supposed to do.
properly and create visual timelines. This is big for me, and to-do lists are big for me. I need to see that I'm actually being productive and I've done these things. It helps me to write everything down, read chapter 4, do the discussion questions. Again, I'm talking about myself because I am also in school, and with work and school and our life, I do have to-do lists. I have to scratch off discussion questions due Wednesday, scratch it off 1, 2, 3 for this class and this class. And that helps me color coding and doing that type of stuff. So,
Mhm.
and also to make sure that you have a good, productive study space, that they have a space that they can go to in their room, or they found a space in the library, whatever works for them. Sometimes students like to study outdoors, but it's productive and clean and available to them.
Conducive to their personal style
Right,
of studying. I can attest to that. Even my work environment is very
Yeah, and you're real big
organized.
on before you start doing work in your office, you have to clean up because it has to feel a certain way.
I do. I
So,
straighten up,
and I
turn the
think
lights on a certain way. And
mentally that's really important for everybody, every student. I think that goes a long way. That stems from a long time ago.
Right.
That's not just an adult current thing
Right.
that you do. I think that's really important.
I have a CRT television with a DVD player and a VCR that I can't see,
Yeah.
that faces the other direction, but I know that it's running.
Yeah. And if that works for you,
I
we
like
need something running in the
hum
background.
drum.
Yeah. Also, this goes to everybody's different, right? But again, Skylar creating visually engaging, color coded notes. Skylar was always really big on taking notes in class and then going back home and rewriting them. That was the strategy she learned to remember stuff.
Mhm.
And she would also color code it. Like this was for this topic. And then it helped her throughout college on learning to do that. And some people are really big with that. I am really big with color coding with different pens for this class and this class. Learn what that is, learn a system, and kind of reflect and adjust your strategy that week. If it didn't work out, if you didn't get everything done, then you need to evaluate what you did, because you need to find something that works
Right.
consistently.
So in your personal and in work and academic life, the unexpected is inevitable every single day. So you're going to have to skip some things because something came up, or reprioritize constantly.
Yeah. And finally, declutter and clean your physical space. I know that college students, they don't really, live in dorms or apartments and they take that for granted, but it's so important for your mental health and organization to clean your room, clean up your space. You have to live in a clean space that's relaxing mentally, physically, to have a good study, not only the study space that we talked about, but just mentally for your health. Just needs to be a part of their routine, and schedule a cleaning day as part of your mental well-being for your plan. To be successful, I think in college, all of it has to be considered. It's like a big organic machine, everything. Your
Or,
social life
yeah,
and everything goes into being successful.
when I was very young, I thrived in that kind of chaos. I loved the messiness and I needed that in my life. And that helped me focus because that's what I needed at the time. So
So
it might be different for you, but
yeah, and I guess that's one part of reflecting strategy of, is this working for me or not? You have to recognize when it's not before it's too late.
it eventually stopped working for me and I had to change.
We're talking about an 18-year-old going to college. These are the biggest things that I want to impose. For one, you're getting ready to go. As soon as you start getting a week out of school, you'll start to see the required reading, required books on syllabus. Sometimes professors email that out early. Again, it is always what happens on the first day of class without fail.
Yes.
That's a syllabus day.
Right.
And pay attention and ask questions. And again, about this college readiness thing, let's start thinking about what we need to do to be successful in school. And these are, I don't think they're inherent in everybody. And I don't know that
I had to learn.
that's part of that. So from the parent side, just encourage that. Get them the agenda, get them the planner, the whiteboard, the little things they may need to do this, all the colored pencils and markers and highlighters, whatever they feel
Yeah.
they need, the Post-its to help keep them organized, because it really is important. I think that's the hardest challenge of college is organizing all the things that you do have to do and planning it as an importance, because it starts off okay. And then you get to midterms and then you realize, you start learning, are you sinking or swimming? And then, but before it's too late, a
Right.
class you thought you didn't have to study for, now you do. And you take it for granted. But if you go in with the mindset
Right.
from the start that you're going to plan this out and be organized, I think it'll really help.
Definitely. And maybe a weekly reevaluation of what went right and what went wrong and what does work and what doesn't.
Yeah. And maybe you don't have to do everything for every class. Maybe this class only requires this much.
Mhm.
And another class requires a
Shift
whole
your
lot more.
resources.
So you'll have to adjust, and that's fine. So really, I hope as parents are dropping their kids off to college soon this week, some people already this week or next week, that this is part of the discussion on leaving your kids and advice you can give them to be ready for this new semester, whatever they are. If they're freshmen going in, this is when it really hits them, that whether they are or not college ready.
Mhm.
And it's not about intelligence
Not at all.
because they got there. It's about utilizing your resources and being prepared for.
Being resourceful, right? Understanding your resources
Yeah.
and being organized
Yeah,
enough
and
to
and
reach
proactive.
out.
Just be proactive.
Please just reach out
Yeah,
to
and
those resources.
don't wait until it's too late in the semester to do something about it.
Right.
Yeah, that's my tip. That's our episode 1, season 3.
Episode 1, season 3. Welcome back. Thank you
Yeah.
for listening very much.
And we'll talk
We
next
learned
week.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.